welcome back to the Fantasy Pints Podcast, the day after the triumphant return of live music, which is a relief to say.
Well, we're recording the day after. It's going to be posted 4 days after, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to have gone really well. I've seen some footage. It looked amazing. I'm incredibly jealous. My day will come.
My day will come. Yeah, well, I think we'll know in the next couple of weeks whether we think it's going to be a success in terms of, obviously, the testing.
The numbers, yeah.
Obviously, there's a few things to take from the thing last night, but I think Zuzu's quote when she walked on, which I think she said, "One small step for Scousers." I think the other thing is how good the Lathams were and sort of how much they've lived up to the hype, that because they were playing to very different crowds before lockdown, and obviously deservedly so. They're quite big now, and I think
surely 5,000 is the largest crowd they've played to.
I'd think so, and I just think in a few years' time they'll be the one of the biggest bands in the UK.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Yeah. But yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of you as well here, Sean. But certainly for me, the Lathams, I believe, is my first booked in ticketed event on the calendar, unless it comes after Leeds, in which case it's Leeds.
No, Leeds is on August bank holiday, isn't it? So I don't know. I've got a huge event calendar of things that have been rearranged. I just need to check on it. So my first gig back could be in Madrid, Mad Cool Festival. So that's a couple of weeks before your wedding, James. And then Why Not Festival at the end of July.
Why are you going there?
Why not? I'm just looking forward to pitching up my tent and cracking that first can open. I think that's my happy place, sat in a little camping chair at a festival. Even though our track record at Why Not's not brilliant, it's been rained off completely one year. And I think one of the times I spent the Sunday night headline slot sat in my car because the rain was that bad. I'm not proud of that, but I was watching Foals a couple of months later, so it was acceptable. But yeah, I can't wait to get back to it. And last night was a reminder that it's on its way. It's happening.
Yeah, I cannot wait. And we've got an exciting guest on, as always, today. Sean, do you want to tell the listeners who we're getting on?
Yeah, so it's Jack Wood, Radio X DJ, MancMade podcast host. He's been doing a bit of work with Scruff of the Neck records recently as well. So it'll be good to chat and get his fantasy pints.
Thoroughly looking forward to it. Let's get him in.
And we're joined this week by a radio host working on Radio X and the MancMade podcast. It's Jack Wood. How are you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm good. What a glowing sort of preview for myself there. Very, very kind of you. A vague description. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I think there's only one place to start after last night, which was the return of live music. What's your thoughts on that whole pilot event, and was it just a relief to see it back finally?
I mean, I panicked then because I thought you were going to talk about what happened at United. But yeah,
we can talk about that too.
Ooh, yeah, we'll get around to that.
It's tricky, mate. I think it's brilliant. I think it's lovely, and I think I was gutted I didn't get to go. But there's something so beautiful and weirdly vicarious about seeing the joy in other people's faces. I saw some people get engaged during Blossoms, which was lovely. Yeah. And I think this is it. This is a little gateway towards the future of what we can sort of have, because like, will the world ever be totally normal after all this? No. But if you looked at that, you wouldn't have known that was a festival that had taken place post-pandemic if you just looked at the footage. So it was a beautiful thing. So I think, this is looking great. And if more of these sort of events can go ahead that are well planned and well positioned, then I think live music is going to be very healthy over the next coming months, which is great.
Yeah. So
fingers crossed for that.
So you more fully optimistic now, because I know a few people are still quite cautious, but I'm thinking I'm very positive at the minute.
Yeah, man, what's the point in being negative? It's just worrying twice then, isn't it? If you know what I mean, you're having to live through it twice. I think we need to be optimistic. I think there is chance and there's potential. Obviously, it all has to be done carefully. You can't just rush in and stick like thousands of people in a field without testing them. But this is sort of being like a middle ground. So like before you go to Reading and Leeds this year, yeah, you might have to stick a tube up your nose, but if you'll be sticking worse things up there, I'm sure, as the weekend goes. So, let's take it as we can and then enjoy ourselves safely, do some learning, and most of all, have some fun. Yeah. God, I sound like a camp counselor then, didn't I? Great.
Yeah. I think everyone in the industry is going to be sort of eagerly anticipating the data sort of off the back of yesterday and keeping the fingers crossed that it was the result that we're expecting or the result that we're hoping for, which is, that people can closely integrate without social distancing at large festivals without, a serious sort of spread when we've had lateral flow testing. We'll see. I think everyone's hoping for the same thing, aren't they? And with a bit of luck, we come out of any restrictions on the 21st of June, and things can get back to not normal, but as normal as it can possibly be for a while.
Bring back necking. We need to do some necking. The Britain needs necking. That's what I'm saying. It's not enough of that at the moment. If I have to, let's take some lateral flow tests. Let's kiss our friends, kiss our loved ones, just kiss some strangers. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Great outlook. What's it been like for you as a radio host during the pandemic? Have you found the sort of more people are listening because they're at home, or less people out on the roads? What's the kind of dynamic as a radio host?
It's weird because it was both. I don't know about you guys, but looking back on this time last year, it was a little bit more exciting in a horrible way. Because it was all new and we're all sort of like adapting to it. It's like, how are we going to talk about this? How do we talk about this properly? Like, the point of radio is that you're supposed to represent the people that you're talking to. So you're talking about them, you're talking about things that matter to them. And all anyone was talking about was the pandemic. So it was a really weird time. And I was actually covering mids on Radio X on the day it all got announced that we were going into proper lockdown. I remember feeling that was a really strange time because Radio X, if you want hard-hitting news, you've got better places to go to than that. But we sort of had to stride the balance between keeping everyone calm and just trying to have a laugh. And it's sort of tricky to do that in the pandemic. But then I feel like as things have gone on, what people want from the radio has changed. So for a bit, it was more comfort. It was like you wanted to listen to the same old songs again. You wanted to listen to something familiar. And then as time went on, you sort of adapted. We all got used to just sitting at home, which was strange. So then you wanted the same bit of entertainment, you want something new, you want something just to talk about because there's nothing to talk about. And that was difficult. And now we're in this stage where there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think everyone just wants it back. Everyone just wants normality. So yeah, it's been about adaptability, I'd say, over the last few months, to be honest.
Yeah. And obviously people are turning to things like radio and podcasts as a source of comfort, and people are discovering new music too. Is that something, have you been listening to some new bands? What are you enjoying at the minute? Well,
weirdly, in the first lockdown, and I don't know if I was the only person that did this, and I hope I'm not, because otherwise I sound weird, but I didn't listen to any new music. I couldn't. There was something really strange. And I remember talking to one of the producers at work, and I was saying, usually I go out and I actively search for new tunes. But for a few months, I was very much going back to the stuff that comforted me. My go-to albums.
That's the word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Comfort.
You needed that. You need that familiarity. But then, what's been great now is that I'm back just binging as much new tunes as I can, getting into stuff as much as I can, especially for this Scruff of the Neck stuff that I do on the weekly, which is great. I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but basically, Scruff of the Neck, if people don't know, it's this lovely little music label. They put on gigs and stuff. And
Let's get into it now. Tell us all about it.
Let's dive in. So yeah, they're this label that sort of saw what Twitch is, which is mainly people playing games, which is strange, and people watching other people play games. And they were like, now we can put gigs on here. This is a great live music platform. And they set up this stage all safely. And they set up these sofas, and they've set up invited bands in, or all within the guidelines to have these lengthy sort of interviews, and then put on a gig. And it's something just like magical about that, because that's what we needed so much. You didn't realize how much you needed it. And even in that sort of setting, we have got this like lovely community now on Twitch, because that's the joy of Twitch, in that people can respond live. It's all live. It only happens within that time period. It's like what telly used to be, except you can text in like constantly. You're part of the whole feeling. So it's great that we've created this like community where people can come in and just experience new music. So half the time people don't know the bands that we're going to be playing, and they'll come on and just watch it because they know we've got good taste. And I found loads of new bands through this, and I've had a great time with it. We had Feet on the other week, who obviously they had a brilliant album out at the end of 2019, but they're back and they've got like a different attitude and stuff. And then I've met loads of other bands, and I feel bad if I mention a few, because then I'll forget the other ones and I'll be kicking myself. But
I know Scruff. Oh, sorry, go on.
Off the top of my head, like bands like Hallen are doing great stuff. They've just released a new track which I really enjoyed. That's why they're on the top of my head. You got like local bands like Foxglove, who are brilliant, amazing singer, and just things like that. Like I just get to experience all this new music every week, and I can't believe someone's paying me for it. I'm still pinching myself a little bit. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, well, Scruff of the Neck had a good result with the Raytons album, EP, sorry. I think it might have been the top 20, might have even been the top 10, I can't remember, but I just remember seeing Mark from Scruff of the Neck popping a champagne thing, so that must be a really exciting sort of project to be involved in, this Scruff of the Neck thing. It seems to be going really well at the minute.
Well, this is why I got involved with them, because more than anything, it's about the music. They care so much about what they're putting out there and trying to create something that's great for the artist as well as themselves. So like you go into that office and there are people that just love the music. You can just chat to them for ages, and that's why I was so excited to be involved with it. And like Mark is like, he's driven in that sense, and like he won't get behind the band unless he likes them, and he loves the Raytons, and he probably bought half the bloody copies of that album. And more for him for that. Is a lovely chap, and it is a cracking album. That's the point. And if there wasn't labels like Scruff pushing these sort of bands which aren't getting as much maybe play in the popular media, then they might not exist. So yeah, it's brilliant. I think it's great.
Yeah. And something else that you do, which we briefly mentioned earlier, is MancMade.
Yeah.
I think you've done that for quite a while, haven't you? So could you tell us a bit about that and how it came about?
Yeah. So that was a weird one that came about. So basically, I got approached by the producer, Kellen Marks, who works for Listening Dog Media, who helped produce it. And he was like, look, I fancied doing this podcast about Manchester, and the idea behind it is it's for the people in Manchester. It's people that have influenced the city or been influenced by the city. And I love Manchester. And he was like, look, we need someone who sounds a bit mank, not too mank, and doesn't have an ego. And I was like, well, you're flattering me. So I joined in, and it's been great. It's let me meet loads of great people around the city, and people that put in as much of the city as they take out from it. And I think it's such a vibrant city. For me, it is the best city in the world. Like, I love it. I love the passion around it. I love that it's coming back to life at the moment. And it's been an honor to do it. And we've had some great guests on there, the likes of Roretta from the Happy Mondays, proper character. A lot of talking about, I think we talked about glue for ages, which is a weird one. We've had some like great business owners, some great chefs. We tried to keep it as varied as we can. It's just really nice to have like a little sit down. We've got Sharon, who does the photography for Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. He used to do the photography for like Man City, boo. She was great and had some amazing stories. Yeah, it's just been again, it's a lot of fun. And what's most interesting is the people make the city, and that's what we've proven on that podcast.
Yeah. And I've mentioned Radio X earlier, but I'm going to go back to it actually, because I interviewed George Godfrey, who's obviously one of your colleagues.
Lovely lad. What a voice he has. Can we just talk about his voice for a minute? How deep is it? He was born with a 40-year-old's voice. It must have been terrifying when he came out of the womb. Like, all right, Mum, can I just have a Boddington's, please, Mum? It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason I mentioned him is because I'd asked him a question. I said, at the Radio X Christmas do, who's the last person standing? And I got his response. So I wanted to see if yours was the same.
Oh, God. I want to say me, to be honest. Who did George say, out of interest? Are you going to let me know before I make my final response?
I'll let you know after the final response.
Okay. I want to say me, but that's really big-headed. It's the last person dancing at the Christmas do. It's definitely not Moyles. Moyles does his thing and he's on breakfast. He's out. So he says his fun, he's gone. I think it might be Johnny. I think it could be Johnny, or it could be Johnny's producers. They have a lot of fun. They're good lads as well. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go for Johnny Vaughan. I think he's going to be the last one of the parish.
Well, interestingly, George went for Michael Lavin.
Oh, really? He doesn't even drink. That's the
what he said.
About him.
He said he doesn't even drink, but he's always there having the best time at the end. So.
It's amazing. His stamina is unbelievable. I'm pretty sure he's got this thing where, because I'm really close friends with Lavin, and we're convinced he's got this thing where if he consumes enough calories, they just automatically convert it into alcohol in his stomach. Because no man should be able to like carry on a night out like he can. Like he will get rounds in, and this is fair play to him. He'll get rounds in even though he's having a Coke. And you suddenly realise how much a pint of Coke costs in every establishment. It's not cheap, mate.
A lot of respect for a man like that.
Yeah. So yeah, do you know what? I'm still saying Johnny Vaughan's outdoing him, but yeah, fair play, Michael Lavin, close third behind me, I'd say. I love that.
Well, I was kind of expecting someone like Johnny Vaughan, so it did take me by surprise, that one. But yeah, we'll move on now to the theme of the podcast then, which I hope you've prepared your answers for. So it's three musicians, past or present, that you can choose to go for a drink with. Yeah. Who are you choosing and why? Well,
this is the thing. I am reasonably prepared, but it changed every day, so I stopped preparing as much for it because it really niggled me, the whole situation. So I've created caveats for this. So I've heard what you want to do, and I'm making my own rules for it. So my first one, I think everyone would say this. Everyone, even if you're not a big fan, he's an honoured pintsman. You want Liam Gallagher, don't you? That's clearly who you want. But I'm not going for him.
Ooh.
This is the old flipperoo. Because in my head, we're all going to the same pub. About 8 other people have already invited him. I don't need to invite him. He's there. He's propping up the bar. And the thing is with Liam Gallagher, is like other artists, I'll never get to have a chance to have a drink with him. But with Liam Gallagher, it's not a matter of how it's going to happen. It's just when. It will one day, surely. We're all going to bump into him at some point. The amount that man goes to the pub, it'll happen. So Liam Gallagher is an honorary mention, but he's not my first one. So controversially, I've gone flip side nearly. I've gone for the rivalry, Damon Albarn.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Noel. I thought you were going to go Noel.
No. I'm not going for Noel. Yeah. So here's a nice little Noel caveat for you. Noel Gallagher used to knock on my grandma's door. He used to be the roadie for my uncle's band.
Wow. I was going to say, was there any reason, or was he just?
Massive flirt, loves a MILF. Yeah. So, yes. Yeah.
But so Damon Albarn, then, what is it about him?
I think it's just because he's got so many projects going on at once, and I think just sitting him down and just hearing about them would be fascinating. You've got obviously Gorillaz is a big part of his life right now, but I'd just be begging him. Just do one more live gig with Blur and get me there, because I've never seen him live. I obviously, when you're from like around Manchester, you have to have an Oasis stage. But I went through that really young, and then I was like, oh, why do they hate Blur so much? I'm going to listen to them, and I fell in love with Blur. Like all the Blur albums, I bought them all on CD. I used to binge them. I'm slowly getting them all on vinyl, and I just think that the way he crafts a song. It's unbelievable, because the man writes pop. The man writes pop better than anyone around at the moment. Like, look at the latest Gorillaz album. The people he can just command to come on it is unbelievable. And then he wrote like a bloody opera. And do you remember when we did the Beijing Olympics, and he did the advert for it with that like the Monkey Journey to the West theme, and I loved that song on it. That was unbelievable. I want an MP3 version of that. I'd ask him to bring that to the pub with him. Oh, I'd have a great time. Just honestly, and then asking. You've got everything with him. You've got the 90s stories, the debauchery, the breakups, all of that, and then you've got the current stuff. Like the whole night, I'd just be at his fingertips. And this got into my head so much, I dreamt I interviewed him the other day. And he didn't like me. So this is how worried I am about meeting him. So I both want to meet him and I'm terrified to at the same time. So yeah. Damon Albarn.
Yeah, he's shifted into so many different genres as well over his career. He's such like a talent, and I do think like the Oasis Blur rivalry. I think the majority of Oasis fans probably would like Blur anyway. Do you know, it's
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one because even like I remember when Blur brought out their last album, which I thought was incredible, the Magic Whip.
Yeah,
I love
the ice cream.
Yeah, I bought 2 lots of the ice cream they brought out for it as well because I'm a nerd. I remember Liam Gallagher saying "Lonesome Street" from that album was the best song of the year. He was like, "I'd love to work with him," and then he did a song with Noel, didn't he, for the latest Gorilla album? And Liam just went, "Nah, fuck him."
Yeah, well, that's the thing now. Noel and him seem fairly close.
Seem more buddy.
Yeah. So bygones be bygones.
When you started off talking about Liam Gallagher, I must admit, I thought to myself,
what a wonderful
LG. No, we're going
Sorry.
we're going to have another LG pick.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think I imagine he's been picked. I bet he's been picked.
Proved a very popular. Yeah, I think Sean, you've done this before the podcast, haven't you? And I think LG and Keith Richards are the most popular picks. We've had a lot of John Lennon as well.
Well, yeah, and I think my mate said to me, because I was on about how Liam gets picked so much, and like I didn't want the concept to sort of become just Liam Gallagher every week, and then he said you should just have it that he's automatically there anyway. So a bit like you said.
That's what I did. Yeah. There we go.
You got it spot on. But so then when you pushed Liam aside and said, honourable mention, but he's not going to be my first pick, and then you said I'm actually going to pick one of LG's biggest rivals, and I still had no idea where you were going with it because it could have been.
He's made a lot of enemies.
Oh yeah, I half expected Robbie Williams for a moment.
Oh, I mean, to be honest, wouldn't say no to a pint with the Rob man. Why not? That's what I'd call him. I don't think he'd like it. Stokes' finest, yes, please.
Yeah. So then, who is your second pick?
Okay, so we're going back. We're just keeping them all as like teenage, childhood sort of memories because I feel like those are the sort of music memories you keep on for the most because that's where you sort of find in yourself, and music seems to mean more to you. Like you read into the lyrics even more. So for this one, like I created my own category for that, and there was 2 like American bands I was really into when I was like a teenager, and one was the Shins, and I quite fancied a little chat with James Mercer from the Shins, who's an incredible songwriter and still producing some really cool stuff. But my other one was Eels. I loved Eels growing up. I thought their first 3 albums are incredible. They're really heartfelt. I think they were the first band to be signed to DreamWorks. And I've read Marky Everett, who is the lead singer of Eels, Mr. E. I've read his biography, Things the Grandchildren Should Know. And he's had the most incredible and devastating life I've ever heard of. And I think I've got the delight. Are these people all together, by the way, or is it like speed dating? They're all
you're the first guest who's actually understood the concept.
Yeah.
We've had to usually after the second guest we have to sort of second pick. Sorry, we have to explain to the guest. By the way, all these people are going to be in the same room at the same time around the same table. Because what we'll get to towards the end is how do you think all of your picks would interact with each other?
Oh, zero interaction. They're going to hate each other, but as long as they all pay attention to me, it'll be fine. But yeah, like he's had this incredible life and he's done some incredible like things with it, like against so many things. Like I think when he was younger, like he found his dad dead when he was like quite young, and like he was the one who had to call the police and like the ambulances and stuff, which was insane for him. And he was so troubled as a kid. He used to like grind his teeth, so he turned an underbite into an overbite. He was that anxious. And he's done all these things. And then there's one of my favorite songs from them. It's called Last Stop, This Town. And I always loved it, but I didn't really know the meaning behind it. And then when I read this biography, it's basically about his sister, which is really sad. This is around the time of their second album, Electroshock Blues, had committed suicide. And he'd gone to her funeral and hadn't told anyone about it. And then when he got back from his funeral, his landlady came up to him and went, "I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a psychic. And weirdly, when you left, this woman appeared on your doorstep just after you left, and then walked into your house just through the door. And the description she gave matched exactly, even though she'd never seen her, his sister's description. So it's sort of like before she went on, the last stop she wanted to make was to go see Mr. E. And that just blew my mind that this man can process all of this and make a song that is poppy as hell, that is so catchy, but has all these deep meanings. And I love that juxtaposition that some people can do.
Yeah.
And despite all these like things that have happened to him, he can find so much joy and love in the world. And I think he'd be great just to sit down and get some wisdoms from, like a man that has gone through all these life experiences, clearly knows how to deal with stuff now and has his own ways. And I think he's a really interesting guy.
Oh, good pick.
I like that.
Yeah, it's quite gave me like a bit like chills listening to that.
Yeah, it does. And you listen to that song now and it'll completely change your conception of it. And I think that's what's incredible about it.
I'm going to go and listen again after this. It was a good pick. Very, very well explained. Goosebumps myself, like Sean said.
Yeah. So who's your final pick? Who's joining them at the table?
So for a while, I was trying to make the rule. I was like, I'm not having anyone who's dead. Because I was like, it feels like I'm cheating. And then I realized David Bowie is dead, which is it hurts me every time I hear it. And I think you've got to have Bowie there, because I think compared to so many other artists, he is one of those people that constantly embraces change in everything. Like when the internet was just coming up through, he was one of the few artists that was like, this is going to be big. Like people are going to love this. And everyone else was like, we'll get over it. We've got telly. And he was like, nah, this is the future. And he was never afraid to put everything that he discovered and stuff into his art. Like, look at his last album. The way he dealt with death, his own death on that album. It's unbelievable. And there's so many mysteries that are still left and like alluring around the sort of David Bowie mystique that partly I never want to know, but partly I just want to sit down and nag him. That I can't resist bringing him back for one more pint. And also, let's be honest, what the hell did David Bowie used to drink? Like, is he a Guinness man? I just want to know. Like, I feel like in my head he'd have some sophisticated cocktail, but if he sat down and just had a little like cheap ale, it'd blow my mind. So I need it for that juxtaposition, just to see that. I think him and Damon Albarn will get on well. You know, just throwing it out there.
Maybe, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Guinness, because it's something I've like toyed with the idea of asking people what they think the musicians would be drinking and stuff like that. But
let's try it. Let's try it now. Damon Albarn. Okay, I think he's going for a spirit mixer. I think he's doing that. I think for some reason in my head I'm thinking gin and tonic, and I don't know why. I think it's clean cut. I think that's what he's going for. Okay, Mr. E. He's going to be a tricky one. So he's American. So I feel like he's going to go for something a bit. I think he's going to go for like a beer from a bottle. I don't think he wants our British sort of tap draft lager. So I'm going to say for him, he's going to go for an old-fashioned Budweiser, or maybe he's going to push it out, do a Brooklyn lager, bit hoppy. You know,
nice.
Why not? Okay, Bowie's going to blow my mind because whatever I'm saying is going the other way, isn't he? I want to say, like, we're all sat there drinking pints. He's going to come over. It's like a tequila sunrise. There's like cherries coming out the top. There's flares. And he doesn't bat an eyelid. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Drink that every day. Yeah. That's what I have for breakfast. Yeah. And that'll blow my mind. Yeah. I think those are the drinks they're going for.
I think that's accurate. And as a bonus, do you want to give us what you believe LG's drink would be as your honourable mention? Obviously, he's in the room with 8 other guests. What do you think he's got at the table?
Well, he's big into Guinness, isn't he? Because he always goes over. He's got like Irish. His mum's Irish, so I think he's going for a Guinness. And let's be honest, during lockdown, that is what I was craving too. Just that a properly poured Guinness with not bubbles in their head, the right level of head, and just
perfect little shamrock on top.
I don't need the shamrock, mate.
No logo in the foam.
It's all about the presentation.
No logo in the foam.
But the way you drink a Guinness, it goes down like black velvet. And
yes. Did you see the picture of Matt Hancock's Guinness that was going round?
Yeah, and he deserves it, you know. Thank God. It's more unsettled than I tweeted it that it's more unsettled than the economy, and it was so right. Like I like that the barman saw him coming and just went, shake that one. It was like great.
Yeah, I think it like sort of defined that Twitter account, the shit London Guinness, and it was.
I love that account. That's an addiction. That and Simpson memes are what keeps me on social media.
Yeah. No, but you give great choices, some good caveats, and we went even further with the drinks, which was good. I suppose thanks very much for your time. And is there anything that we've not spoke about you might want shouted about that's coming up in the near future?
God, that's very kind of you. No, I do very little. I do bits and bobs, but there's always things in the pipeline. So I'd say follow me on social media at Jack and Wood on Twitter, Instagram, and currently TikTok, because I'm down with the kids. Just give us a follow for all the updates, because I love shouting about the shit I'm doing. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Excellent. What time can people hear you on the radio?
Oh, I mean, at the moment it's fucking early. So yeah.
Did I see 2 a.m. till 6 a.m.? Is that
you did, mate? And I see it every weekend, and even I can't believe it sometimes. But there we go. So yeah, if your insomnia is troubling you, I won't help it, but at least I play some tunes. So yeah, get involved.
Jack, thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Some really, really interesting picks there. We've only surprisingly had Bowie once, and Damon and Mr. E we've never had certainly on the podcast. Sean might have had them in interviews previously, but on the podcast, they're three very good and not often chosen picks. And I love the explanations for all three. I love the idea of Bowie sat around a table with lads with the with the with the drinks, and obviously we've got Damon with his gin and tonic, and Bowie comes up with a huge sort of couple of umbrellas in the cocktail and all sorts. I love it.
He'll have a great time. We'll treat him well, don't worry. If he's back for a day and he's chosen to spend it with us in a pub rather than his family, then we got to look after the man.
Give the man what he wants.
Yeah.
Give the man what he wants. Jack, thank you so much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Cheers.
Yes,
that was Radio X's Jack Wood. He's a great character, I think, on the radio, and I think his personality came through then as well.
Yeah, he's a real gent, and I love those picks as well. As I mentioned to him, we've had Bowie once before on the podcast, and Damon and Mr. E we haven't had, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that we haven't had Damon before. Mr. E, I don't think we'll get that again for a long time.
No, definitely not. And he also sort of it was as if he read my mind in stages, because he was talking about obviously the Liam Gallagher being there automatically, which Brad had mentioned to me, and also we got onto the drinks, which I think we could always ask, and it was Brooklyn Lager got mentioned again, didn't it? Which was also mentioned last week with Dave Grohl.
Yeah, he did that a couple of times, didn't he? Where he just sort of understood the concept almost to a level beyond what we understand it. He was almost telling us what our concept is, which was great, because it was absolutely spot on. He was the first guest that we didn't have to explain that everyone's going to be around a table, and he was also the first guest that's brought up the idea of, or the concept of, who's going to drink what, which is something that we've discussed offline, and I think, to be honest, that went really well. We should probably implement that moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we've got some obviously more good guests lined up in the near future. So hopefully everyone keeps listening. You can find us on Twitter at Northern Chorus _, Instagram at Northern Chorus, and Facebook Northern Chorus UK.
Thank you for listening. Bye bye for now. See you next week.
Bye.